Hello, and welcome to Safe Sanctuaries Training, where we make a private like you into a strong veteran entrusted with the very important goal of creating a safe environment for children, youth, and vulnerable adults. During this course, you will be trained to be the best of the best, fitted for any situation. But before we get started, you need to know a few things. Jesus said, "Whoever welcomes a child welcomes me." Church may be the only place where a child feels total acceptance, and God calls us to make our churches a safe and caring environment. The purpose of this training is to help Isle of Hope United Methodist Church provide a caring and safe environment for children, youth, and vulnerable adults, including those involved in ministering to them, and that's exactly what we will do. Our church facilities are used by various community groups. Each community group will follow the Safe Sanctuaries policies of Isle of Hope United Methodist Church, or they present their own policy and screening process for workers participating in its programs involving children, youth, or vulnerable adults. That being said, it's time to send you off to boot camp where your training can begin.
Isle of Hope United Methodist Church has created several safe sanctuary policies to ensure that we recruit the best workers able to pursue our goal effectively. Now, we are going to go over our policies to get you ready and working. All workers who interact with children, youth, and vulnerable adults, paid or volunteer, must participate in our annual orientation. Completing this training and successfully taking the quiz fulfills that requirement. Following orientation, workers will complete a covenant statement and background application. Workers must be 18 or older to be placed in charge of any group of youth or children. For the purpose of the covenant, a child is defined as 0 to 12 years of age, a youth 13 to 17 years of age, and a vulnerable adult is an individual with diminished physical, mental, or emotional capacities. Workers must also have continuous active involvement or have been a church member for at least 6 months. Following this orientation, an application and criminal records check is required for each worker. All paid workers must have references, drug screening, first aid, and CPR certification. Volunteer workers may be asked to have a drug screening as well. Now let's talk about something we're all familiar with, and that's technology. Our 21st century world is flooded with a myriad of ways to stay connected with one another. From emails and cell phones to social networking and virtual worlds, we are constantly connected regardless of geography, time zone, or depth of relationship. As workers of Isle of Hope United Methodist Church, we agree to use social media in a way that brings honor to God and shows respect to ourselves and anyone who may view our posts.
Now let's get on the road and talk about, well, the road. For day trip activities, one supervising adult per vehicle is adequate. When a personal vehicle is used, a $300,000 liability insurance certificate is required to be on file in the church office prior to the use of the vehicle. Any person who will be driving youth, children, or vulnerable adults must obtain a Department of Motor Vehicles check. Paid workers and ministry leaders must sign a statement indicating that they have never been convicted of a crime under state or federal law, although minor. Background checks will be completed at least every 3 years or upon request. No fewer than 2 adults who are not related and who have passed the screening process must provide supervision at all times during any program. At least one of the 2 workers must be at least 5 years older than the oldest member of the group being supervised. If the group is divided, each subgroup, which is in a separate room, will have 2 adult workers.
Now let's go on to the open classroom policies. Windows will be included in classroom doors. Floaters will be used to go in and out of classrooms at irregular time intervals. Classrooms may be visited at any time without prior notice, but only by church staff, parents, and other volunteer church workers. During overnight trips, leaders will be housed in separate rooms from children, youth, and vulnerable adults. If any group stays overnight, and if the group is of mixed genders, the group must include 1 male and one female leader who is not related. If the group is of the same gender, one worker must be of that gender. A signed permission form is required of all children and youth prior to participation in a ministry event. Full information will be provided to parents regarding events in which their children or youth are participating. By 2030, more than 21% of Americans will be older than 65. And for the first time in history, the percentage of older adults will match that of children and youth. Elder abuse can happen to any older person. The same screening rules that apply to workers overseeing children and youth will apply to workers overseeing vulnerable adults, except for the 5-year-older rule. No fewer than 2 supervising adults will be present for any program in which vulnerable adults participate. Well, those are all the policies I have for you today. Now let's get you back to the general.
Well, took you long enough. Now that you know the policies of safe sanctuaries and your training is coming to an end, it's time to talk about something very serious: abuse and how to report it. First off, we need to understand what abuse means. Abuse refers to an act committed by a parent, caregiver, or person in a position of trust that is not accidental, in which harms or threatens someone's physical, mental, health, or welfare. Now, this can be physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, or even neglect. Now let's figure out how we can identify these different types of abuse. Physical signs of abuse might include suspicious bumps, bruises, and burns. Emotional or verbal abuse could include confinement, extreme discipline, verbal bashing, or knowingly permitting drug or alcohol abuse. These conditions might be revealed in discussions or through written reflections. Sexual abuse could include incest, rape, prostitution, or romantic involvement with any participant. Now, other forms of sexual abuse are sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, and sexualized behavior. If you are ever put in this situation, immediately notify the staff person in charge. The staff person in charge shall immediately contact the senior pastor and the Safe Sanctuaries Committee. The chair of the church council will be the sole spokesperson for the church should an incident occur. No other parties are authorized to speak with the media. This is to protect the privacy of all involved. Ministry leaders are to report any violations to the proper authorities and are then to keep all information confidential. You hear that? The sweet sound of success. If you have just now completed training and seem to be all in one piece, hopefully. Now that you have been equipped with the necessary tools, you may now go take the Safe Sanctuaries quiz, which is located on the church website. You may also find there the Safe Sanctuaries Covenant and the background application, which must be completed as well. Now complete and return them to the executive administrator in the church office, and you are ready to go, private. For further review, the full Safe Sanctuaries policies and procedures document is available on the church website also. So farewell, soldier, and I wish you the best of luck.